Hi, today we are going to make more reaction videos. Today I'm going to react to videos about famous designer, the Danish designer, Poul Kjærholm, a modernist designer. So today we are going to learn about him and what makes his furnitures different from other designers' furnitures.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas, and we are two Swedes, and we love modern design and all kind of design.
We do.
And today we're going to talk about the designer behind some of the most iconic modernist furniture, Poul Kjærholm. He stands out from most other Danish designers at the time with his clean, simple lines made from metal, glass and leather.
Poul Kjærholm was born on the 8th of January in 1929 in a small town in the northern part of Denmark.
Yeah.
Already at the age of 15, he got an apprenticeship that lasted for 5 years at a cabinet maker called T.H. Grönbäck.
Ja.
Meanwhile, he also studied at a technical school. These experiences gave him a great appreciation of materials and how to refine them with different tools.
So here we could learn how his education actually influenced the way he built his furniture.
Will never be better than the raw material, and it's also a direct result of the tools being used to shape it. The studies also gave him an understanding of furniture design as a process. While designing, Kjærholm would always strive for clean constructions where shape, materials and means of construction becomes one. At the age of 20 in 1949, he moved to Copenhagen and enrolled at the furniture department at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts. He soon got to be taught by the one and only Hans C. Wegner, and how much he influenced the young Kjærholm is of course impossible to say, but probably a lot.
Yeah.
Wegner took an interest in Kjærholm and let him work part-time in his design studio.
Yeah.
In 1952, he graduated and became a cabinet maker. To graduate, he had to produce a piece of furniture of artistic merit that could be considered technically sound. The result was his first masterpiece. At the graduation, he exhibited the chair later called PK25.
So, if you don't know, till this day, there's still people who use this furniture. They're still selling this furniture. So, this PK25 chair is timeless.
It was constructed from a single piece of steel, cut and then bent into shape. The upholstery was
So, this is the example of halyard.
Giving the chair an almost transparent impression. And it was without a doubt inspired by the flag.
So here we could see Kjærholm. He got inspired by Wegner design and making it into more minimalistic style, as you can see right here. Wegner style much more detail, but Kjærholm making it more simple.
Halyard chair by Wegner 2 years earlier.
Yeah, they are a bit similar.
The separation between the bearing structure and the born structure is highly apparent, and that's something that will come to characterize many of Kjærholm's furniture throughout his career.
Yeah. And Søren Hansen, the chief of furniture company Fritz Hansen, was highly impressed by this PK25 chair and soon hired Kjærholm. And at Fritz Hansen, he started experimenting with bent wood constructions. But none of his prototypes was chosen for mass production. And Kjærholm had developed the shell chair, nowadays called PK0, you can see it here, and inspired by the works by American designers Charles and Ray Eames, quite similar to their chairs. But Fritz Hansen, who fully focused on Arne Jacobsen and his three-legged ant chair, decided not to produce it, and that made Kjærholm quite angry, quite pissed off. So his time at Fritz Hansen would come to be very short. But when leaving the company, he brought the chair prototype with him, eager to show it to other
how the
furniture
things
companies.
develop.
But the PK0 wouldn't come to be produced until 1997. And then, ironically enough, by Fritz Hansen, the company that originally rejected it.
After leaving Fritz Hansen, he used the following years to develop the idea of cheap and durable furniture suitable for industrial production. In 1953, he started a collaboration with the company Chris Sørensen, for whom he developed several different lightweight aluminum chair ideas. And it was an experimental period for Kjærholm, and this led to a huge pile of sketches and ideas. But most of the furniture remained prototypes.
Yeah.
Only one of them came to be produced, and only in a small series of about 20 shell chairs, and that was it. Even though the practical results was far from great, his ambitions at the company was still very high. Kjærholm designed a logo combining the initials of Sørensen and Kjærholm, a direct symbol that he aimed to be partner in the firm. And so he did, but the partnership didn't last long. In 1955, Sørensen fled the country, leaving Kjærholm a letter in which he declared that he wouldn't pay any royalties for those 20 shell chairs, and he didn't consider his chairs suitable for either the Danish nor American market.
So what I learned from the history of Kjærholm, Kjærholm was not appreciated that much during this time, which is a shame, because his creation till these days was still being used, and his furniture is really unique. I really think he needs a lot more recognition, and thankfully he did now.
And this setback was, of course, a hard blow for the young designer, but all of his hard work would soon pay off.
Yes, because in 1955 he came in contact with the entrepreneur Eivind Kold Christensen, a man who earlier had convinced Wegener to design furniture for mass production with the convincing words, "There is no way you can earn a living from setting up one exhibition once a year. Your things would be better off in the factories." Soon also Kjærholm started a collaboration, and together they started a company, E. Kold Christensen, with the purpose of distributing Kjærholm's designs. The collaboration would come to result in all the furniture we today associate with Kjærholm. And the production took place at different subcontractors who made the different elements, then assembled to finish furniture at the Elkold showroom. The main component was steel, and that was mainly for practical reasons. Steel turned out to be the best material to use when producing different parts in factories, because they could be assembled with only bolts and nuts. They didn't have...
So that explains why Kjærholm used a lot of steel for his design, especially for his chair. Because for me, I think if you're using steel for the leg chair, it will not break easily.
Have to glue them together or anything like that. And also, according to Kjærholm, steel had the same artistic merit as wood, and he loved the way the light reflected in its surface. He always preferred using matte finished steel, mainly because of its appearance and ability to age with grace. And for the same reason, Kjærholm preferred leather upholstery. Textile was, according to him, not a suitable material for furniture upholstery because it doesn't age beautifully. And I agree.
Me too.
Nevertheless, he sometimes used canvas, but he preferred natural colored leather.
And this is also why I admired Kjærholm work, because he really put some detail to his works and wants his creation to last long and age beautifully. And I think this is the reason why his creation is still being used till these days. His idea also being used today.
Leather delivered by the exclusive Danish leather supplier Dominion Belting. And the upholstery work was then performed by master upholsterer Ivan Slechter.
Kjærholm spent a lot of his time thinking about how to assemble the furniture in the best possible way. And after doing his research, he found an American screw designed
the connection that Kjærholm chose to design his furniture makes his furniture much more stronger than other connections.
And it turned out to be perfect for the task. By using this method of assembly, no costly or time-consuming welding was needed. The screws also worked as decorative elements, giving the furniture an industrial look. So the result was strong yet clean and simple. The screws were perfect for mounting metal parts together, but Kjærholm soon realized that another method was needed to mount wooden parts to the metal frame. For this purpose, he came up with the idea of using rubber rings holding the wooden parts tight to the metal and still letting them to move, which prevented the wood from breaking.
Yeah. And the production with Ekhold started already in 1955, and Kjærholm was, of course, full of ideas. And suddenly he had not just a wealthy companion, but more important, a company that was willing to distribute his furniture. And first out, released already in 1956, was a series of minimalist tables with tubular steel legs and some chairs with halyard seat. And they are not among his most known designs today, but soon classics like the PK22 chair and the lounge table PK61 was released, and they are still today two of Kjærholm's most popular pieces of furniture. He was highly impressed by the works by Mies van der Rohe and Lily Reich, so he was indeed inspired by their 1920s furniture, and it is interesting to compare furniture by Mies and Reich with some of the furniture by Kjærholm. And none of the furniture were given names, only model numbers. And this was something Kjærholm also borrowed from predecessors like Mies and Reich. And we won't really talk in detail about the different pieces of furniture, but we will show you a video now showing you some of the furniture at least.
So for me, this looks like a trampoline design. And as you can see right here, the top of the table looks like marble, making it look more elegant. And if you realize, most of Kjærholm chair have some differences from other designers, which is his iconic 3-leg chair, or I think ant leg chair, and the leg chair like bend, as you can.
In 1965, Kjærholm was commissioned to design the furniture for the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Art, which was about to be built in Washington. And together with a colleague Nils Fagerholt, he developed a sofa constructed of laminated wood shell, leather cushions and steel legs. But due to high cost, the project was sadly cancelled. But 4 years later, the drawings were used as an inspiration for his new lounge chair, the PK27. And it had the same bent wood shell as the sofa, but the legs were made from laminated wood instead of metal. And this is one of only 3 chairs made by Kjærholm that are all wooden.
So I think the chair looked more sturdy when it was made from wood, as you can see right here, and it also looked pretty neat.
Kjærholm continued developing his furniture, sketching on the PK8 dining chair and the PK65 low table at the end of the 70s, but his health was suffering. Kjærholm was only 51 years old when he died from lung cancer on the 18th of April in 1980. And after his death, the rights to produce his furniture were sold to Fritz Hansen, who started their production in 82. And still today they are producing several of his classic designs, and it's a bit ironic that it's the company that rejected him way back then, but
yeah,
that's life.
That's life. And back in the days, Kjærholm was often accused of producing too expensive furniture. And this was a problem for Kjærholm, who promoted mass production and standardization, but he refused to compromise with quality, and letting the best carpenters, blacksmiths and upholsterers work with the best materials was costly. Kjærholm himself believed that the prices would go down in the future when new technologies would make the production cheaper, but as we all know, sadly, this never happened. The leather version of the PK22.
And this is also why I adore Kjærholm, because he is very futuristic kind of person and wouldn't let costs get in the way. If he wants to make the product, he don't care about the cost. He care about the quality more.
Is today about $4,500 and if you want to buy the PK31 3-seat sofa, you need about $45,000, so it's very expensive. But the prices at auction are more reasonable, and it's not hard to find old Kjærholm furniture for much less. And yeah, according to many collectors, the only real Kjærholm furniture is the ones produced by Ekhold.
Do you agree?
Yeah, perhaps. At least they were produced during his lifetime. And that's, I mean, I would prefer buying an old sofa when I can get it even cheaper than buying a new one from Fritz Hansen today. Yeah. And my favorite piece of design by Kjærholm is the PK9 side chair.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a kind of Kjærholm version of the tulip chair by Saarinen. And the seat is really graceful. It's not a cheap chair, new from Fritz Hansen. It's about $5,000 a piece, and that will be expensive if you want 4 or 6 chairs for your dining room.
Very.
And they can, from time to time, be found on auction, sold for between $1,000 or $2,000. So that's much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
That was our introduction to Poul Kjærholm.
Yes.
Hope you learned something new today and that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This is the second video where I'm going to show you guys his famous creation or furniture that people are still using till these days, and people are still selling it. His ideas still valid till these days.
We're very happy to show this collection of Poul Kjærholm's early production, mainly in collaboration with Ecole Christensen. Poul Kjærholm studied at the design school in Copenhagen under Hans Wegner, the master cabinet maker and designer in wood. It's interesting that Poul Kjærholm chose flat steel rather than wood in his early productions, but the same sense, treating the flat steel with the delicacy that
as you can see, the Hilliard one, I think it's PK22
his
or PK25.
examination piece, the PK25, was a chair in solid steel that had been cut and bent and then covered in natural woven rope. Even though it's actually heavy in construction, the feeling is of light and the fact that you can see through it. Poul Kjærholm preferred to think of himself as a furniture architect because he was so aware of the impact that furniture has on an architectural space. But once you place this furniture, in this space, it becomes actually a place. Poul Kjærholm was very specific in the choice of materials and the finishes of his furniture, from these matted steel bases.
And you could see the leather.
Reflect light in the same way, but created a warm
What I
feeling.
do learn here,
So the natural materials
his
that he
quality
crowned
of the furniture is
these
really good.
bases with.
The choices
Kjærholm always
for
worked with
material,
matted marbles
the choices
rather
of
than
material
shiny
for his
surfaces.
furniture is really
He
good.
believed that it was really
And
important
it's
to
really
be able
high
to feel the
quality.
quality of the material and the
And
transparency of
I learned
the
that
manufacture.
he did not use a
It's
shiny
interesting to see the
shiny
influences
surface
that
for
other
his
great
furniture.
designers of the
It
20th
did not
century had
last
on Poul
long.
Kjærholm.
Instead, he's using
For example, if you look at
a marble,
Mies van
as
der
you can see
Rohe
right here.
and his tubular steel, you can see how this definitely was a strong influence on Kjærholm, but he adapted flat steel as his material. You can see he was transparent in showing all the visible connections, the screws where they went in. He didn't try and hide these things, but made them part of the design.